Tatiana, and my channel is created by Lady T. And in this channel, I talk about quilting, sewing, and crochet. I also give product reviews on related items to quilting, sewing, and crochet. If you're new to my channel, welcome. This video today is an update on my 12 blocks till Christmas, putting together the actual quilt. So I have spent the last several months putting together my blocks. I have videos on each block 1 through 12, and they're in the description box below. I have also squared up the blocks. I showed how I did that, and I have sewn the blocks together. Now what I am doing is assembling the quilt. So in this video, in this update that I'm giving, what I've done is I've added the batting and the backing, and I have brought it to my sewing machine, and I stitched in the ditch first in all the areas that I needed to do. I called it sew in the ditch in the video in a few minutes, so excuse me, it's stitch in the ditch. Sometimes my mind is on a lot of things and the words don't come out the way I want it to. So it's stitch in the ditch. First I stitched in the ditch, so I'm totally finished with that. Now I'm working on quilting the top. So I've decided to use a decorative stitch for this rather than do free form. It's easier for me, and it's going to go a little faster. And so I'm going to finish that in the next couple of days. That's my update. So I'm showing you what's coming up after I talk is what I've done so far. And I'm hoping in the next couple of days, this quilt will be completely done. And then I can reveal who I'm going to be giving this to. So watch what I've been doing so far. Because of the enormous size of this quilt, I put it back on my bed, and what I did was I added backing. So I've got backing fabric. This is special backing fabric from the fabric store that's 108 yards in width. So it's not like the regular 44 yards in width. It's 108 yards, and it's actually called backing fabric. So I found a nice green, solid green to use. And then the batting is warm and white. Now this is the ripped up package. I was going to take a picture of it before, and I didn't get a chance to do that. I used the full size, and I used the warm white. I just wanted that. I wanted the white because of this white background, and I thought that was the best choice. So this full size is bigger than the actual quilt. I'm not sure. This size is 90 inches by 96 inches, and this is more like 60 in width, and in height it's about 70. Maybe 72. I'll take better measurements later. However, I do waste a lot of fabric because what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut. Now, I'm not going to cut from here. I'm just going to cut it just a little longer than the actual size when I go to quilt this, because I will lose some of the fabric when I quilt it. And also I don't want it to be that close. Later on, I can square it up. But before I actually quilt this, I'm going to get my 505 spray, and I'm going to spray this. I am not going to pin it. It's too heavy for me to pin it and use all these pins. It's too heavy and it's too large. So I'm going to use the 505 spray, and after I use the 505 spray, I'm going to take a pair of big scissors and I'm going to cut all around this. And then I'm going to roll it up before I go to quilt it. All right, so I've rolled the quilt, and I'm going to start sewing in the ditch, quilting in the ditch, starting here and moving all the way down this way. And so I'm going to do this with a lot of ease, a lot of caution, so that I don't mess anything up. I'm going to sew in the ditch first. I'm going to sew in the ditch this way, and then I'm going to sew in the ditch that way. Or quilt in the ditch, sew in the ditch. I can't think right now. And then I'm going to actually quilt this whole piece myself. Okay, so I'm sewing in the ditch right now, and I'm doing a very bad job of it on screen, so I'm really sorry. But this is because I'm getting off. So this is sewing in the ditch in here. So all along the way, I'm going to be sewing in the ditch with my walking foot as I'm taking very great care to make sure to do that before I actually do the quilting for this project. So as I'm sewing in the ditch here, I'm using the white thread on the top, but on the bottom, because my backing fabric is green, I have chosen green thread. So I'm going to be using green thread in my bobbin even when I do my quilting, so that I don't have a discrepancy in the color. And for the most part, I am going to be using white throughout this whole piece, and because white is a color that resonates throughout this whole top part. So I'll be using the white thread on the top needle and then this green on the bottom needle, and I have just enough to last for this quilt, and then I'll have to go and buy some more. So that's what I'm going to be using as far as the colors of my thread. I'm almost done stitching in the ditch. I called it sewing in the ditch before. I'm sorry. It's stitching in the ditch. I'm almost done. And when I finish this part, I'm going to start quilting my quilt top. Now, for this quilt top, I am not going to lower the feed dogs. I am just going to use a decorative stitch because this quilt is kind of heavy for me. So I decided to use a decorative stitch on my sewing machine and just use that whole decorative piece throughout the whole quilt. I'm going to use this serpentine stitch, which is number 1398 on the Bernina 770 machine. And I think this serpentine stitch is really kind of cool for quilt tops because it goes fast. And this is a larger serpentine stitch than number 1397. So I like the 1398 because it's going to go really nice and fast. This is the serpentine stitch, and I'll be doing all of the quilt this way. So that's my update so far. So stay tuned, created by Lady T, and I will show you how I finish this quilt and put it together and tell you who I am going to give it to. So stay tuned, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, Created by Lady T, and I'll see you in the next video.